Welcome back, everyone. Spent probably better part of, I guess maybe 5 hours, and have now got this deck entirely stripped, 80 grit sanded, cleaned off, vacuumed, ready to go. The surface is really nice and smooth, so I'll be ready to put on my new laminate. I wanted to get this down and get it to a level where I knew everything was good and flat. I've gone ahead and anywhere that had particular rod issues, I went ahead and epoxy filled and smoothed these out. So that's all good epoxy fill with high strength filler in it. Most of these were where bolt go. Piece of tape under there yet. So I'll end up re-drilling these holes for the elevator bolts and fix the new laminate, which really happy when this is all said and done. This should be right back to being just about 3/4, which is what I want. So I'm looking forward to the next step. All right, so here's the part number on our plywood. They call it utility plywood. It's 2.7 millimeter, and it's going to be just the ideal size to go back over this, and it'll be very, very, very close to 3/4 again. So I thought I would go ahead and share that. One last thing for tonight. I went ahead and took a measurement across the bottom, so I knew exactly what the bottom edge board distance was, marked it on my board. I measured, used this as a straight edge, measured my distance up to here, marked it with straight edge, and went ahead and got my interior measurement, knew my top distance from this corner to the end, this corner to the end. Again, mark these, and you can see that I now have these on the board laid out. They're marked. Tomorrow night I'll come over here and I'll bring my jigsaw over and cut this piece out. I'm really happy the way this worked out. This happened to be one board in prior video when I was talking, trying to show where I got these boards. I dropped this one and I actually stepped on it and broke it, but not fatal, because I managed to realize that the piece where I cracked it's going to be inside this piece, and I'm going to cut out anyway, so no harm done. So when I get this done, I'm going to climb down here real quick and show you really like this ladder system on the trailer. It's all said and done, this 2.7 millimeter is essentially, once I have this glued and bonded on, and then I'm going to epoxy the edges. Really, it's no different than the thickness of the laminate that had been here. So I'm really happy I found this. Again, I keep sort of repeating myself, but we'll have a brand new, good, clean surface then for our vinyl. So that's great. So that's it for tonight. Plywood veneer, I've taken it and I've gone and I've done my cutout for the lines. I said the other day, it worked out exactly right. It's just a perfect alignment with the old board. There's some areas that really what I wanted to do was drill some of these through holes, well, through deck, I guess you might call it, once I had the vinyl on, but some of them I won't be able to reach with a drill, so I had to reach under, mark them, had some hole saws, and went ahead and drilled these, laying these flat now, let them flatten out real good. Next thing I'll do is go ahead and I'll just number them 1 through 6, kind of obvious which one this one is, and let these flatten out overnight. And then I will go ahead and begin the stapling and gluing process and get these bonded to the old plywood. And as you can see, it's going to make for a very, very nice platform and deck to adhere our vinyl to. It'll be a good flat surface, no imperfections. There's no knots in this wood. This is very good wood. And as you can see, the deck will end up being back to pretty close to 3/4. I think it'd be a little tiny bit thicker, but not much. And so it'll be pretty close to what the original would have been. And we'll have a very good surface to work with. So I'm happy with the way this is turning out. So next is just a whole day of gluing and getting the pneumatic stapler out and then bonding this layer on, and then we'll be ready to think about the vinyl. Of course, this is all water-based glue, and it's about 15 degrees and howling out, and I'll have to figure out how to keep this building warmed. It's okay when I'm here and I got the torpedo running, but for overnight I've got some standalone, I guess, regular Kerosene type heaters I'll put in here and try and get it to stay warm. I'm sure the vinyl will take 2 or 3 days to probably cure in that kind of atmosphere. Once that's done, we're ready to start the reassembly, and looking forward to it. Today's the day. I'm going to be laying down the deck. I've taken all my boards, which I've numbered. I've gone ahead and laid them out, so I'll just aggressively pull these back as we start to lay them out. First order of business, I want to make sure the surface is clean, which certainly shown in some prior videos here that I've sanded and cleaned and done everything, but I'm going to go ahead and, you can see by the cloud here, there's still lots of dust. Just a little compressed air. Go ahead and get her all blown off. I'll move that last board there and we'll blow that off. Get that. Alright, the deck is as clean as I can make it. You can actually see it shine a little bit in the light. So I've got everything off of it. Got a flat deck now. I've sanded 80 grit the whole thing. All the bumps are out. Taking care of any old staples. Pre-drilled a few of these where I thought I wouldn't be able to get it from underneath. Some of the main holes that I can go through all the way through the vinyl when I'm done, I left. It's good. Again, I'd like to have a nice clean cut when I do that. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to lay out the waterproof glue. I'm going to lay the board down, and then I've got a brad nailer. Situated. Got my brad nailer. We've got 5/8 staples. I really wanted 3/8, but I couldn't find any. But I do have these 5/8. And since I'm going closer to 3/4, shouldn't have any trouble. I don't think with this extra, a little bit of extra thickness on the deck, and then this already having been a 3/4, I don't think these will go all the way through, so that'll be fine. I'll use that to hold it down. The glue is supposed to have 100 psi pressure on it to set, and I don't really have any good way to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and brad nail it down. The glue will set up just fine. Once that's done, I'll go back through from the bottom, and we'll re-drill each of the elevator bolt holes, and then fasten that through these. So I think we'll have a good bond there. It won't be any problem. Then I'll have a real good surface to work with for the vinyl. And the vinyl is, as you can see, rolled up down underneath. I have the heaters going in here today. I brought a couple of extra ones over that I'll put out. It is. I woke up to 13 degrees this morning, so it was pretty cold out. I'm a little worried about that for the vinyl, not so much for this one. I think the wood glue, it's warm enough in here, will set up, it'll stay warm fine. I think in a week or so, the temperature is supposed to go up again. I may hold off on the vinyl until then. Anyway, so roll brad nail. I'll take pictures of this once that's done. Alright, the deck is glued and tacked down with the air brad nailer. Everything is on. It looks nice and flat. Everything seems to have bonded pretty well. Pretty happy with it. Took me maybe, no, I don't know, 2 hours, if I had to guess, to do that. So now she's on there. I was going to wait until it's all set up before I put the elevator bolts in, but this glue actually seems to be setting pretty fast. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then that'll make sure that the edges stay bonded real well, and it'll flatten all the boards out. The little bit of unevenness you're seeing is actually all the way through to the underlying board, more so than it is anything to do with the bonding to the top layer. But now we have a good clean surface to work with for the vinyl. I'm real happy with the way this is turning out. Good and flat. Another layer bonded on top certainly won't hurt the stiffness any. So I'm happy with it. Any edges that are sticking up, well, number one, on the interior, everything's going to be covered by vinyl anyway. The outside is all going to get epoxied and clamped to make sure that the edges are sealed. So that'll take care of any edges out here. But as you can see, this is on there fairly well. It's bonded right to it. So essentially remade the plywood that had been delaminated and rotted. So I'm fairly happy here. And again, we'll deal with anything that looks like it's out. So pretty good. All right, so next a bunch of drilling and screwing down, and I'll take more pictures when that's done. Kind of boring to watch me just drill holes and bolt bolts. All right, first bolt going in just as a test. I don't think you want to watch me do 100 of these. I've already gone and drilled up through the hole, and let's just see. She's going to tighten right down without any issue. Flattens. You can see it's flattening the board right out. I was going to do with the air wrench, but I decided I might, if I do that, I might end up cranking this all the way through the wood. So I'm going to do this just, I think, with a wrench, so I can kind of watch what's going on and use the mallet to pound it down in. So more of this to come. It's all done. I can see my bolts are more than long enough, so that'll be really good. All right, deck is fastened. Whole lot of drilling holes, putting it down, but I'll tell you, it came out really, really nice. And it's amazing how much this thing stiffened up. When I got it refastened, I think I'd have had a wobbly boat the way those old zinc-plated, rusted-out fasteners had been. I put in, the kit came with 100. I probably used 90 of them or more. But now the deck is good and flat. Anything that had been sticking up is now flush. So next I'll go through and we'll do the edge epoxying, clamp down, address any areas that are like this where there was some underlying issues. We'll fill this with epoxy, clamp it down. A couple of spots where my glue didn't seem to hold. Most of it did pretty well. So it came out, like this, where it's good and solid and flush, nice and tight. So there shouldn't be any kind of air pockets or anything. We're here underneath the vinyl when we're all said and done. But I'm really happy with how this has turned out. If I take this and sort of show you, long ways for you to see, it looks like a nice brand new deck you might expect if I had bought brand new plywood. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to go to the next step and keep making progress. Everything's epoxied. Everything looks good. Clamped down the one or two areas I had a little concern with, so that's good. That'll set up, tighten it all up. Deck looks great. So next up, we'll go ahead and get ready to lay vinyl.